Let's keep it moving. Let's talk about Todd Grisham. He's going to interview Edge, Chris Benoit, and Shawn Michaels backstage, and he's going to give each guy one last pitch for last second fan votes. And what do you know? Michaels finishes first with 39%. Edge has 33. Benoit has 28%.
Pretty close, actually, right?
Yeah. Next up, we've got Trish Stratus winning a battle royal. They go 5 minutes and 35 seconds. It gets a quarter star. Wade would say lots of women bending over, not much wrestling, not a disaster, but not good. We should mention in the match are Nydia, Jazz, Victoria, Gail Kim, Stacy, Molly Holly. So a lot of, interesting names in there, but this
great talents, by the way. Let me tell you something. That group of ladies right there, all these women now, some are making $1 million a year and more now in WWE. $1 million a year and more. That's 19,000 and change a week. They can thank the names you just mentioned: Stacy Keibler, Victoria, Nydia, Trish Stratus, Molly Holly, and Gail Kim. I don't know that there's ever been a better six-man team of females that I've ever seen better than Trish, Molly, and Gail Kim. I think Gail Kim is my favorite female wrestler, period, of that era. She and Trish, she helped so many women. And Molly Holly, my God, what a treasure. What a great human being. So they didn't cause trouble. They were great in the locker room. There was no issues. There was no drama to speak of. So those women really contributed big time and led the way to the Charlottes and the Beckys and all these other cats for making massive money because these ladies paved the way.
No doubt. No doubt. This match is not a lot of wrestling though. Next up, we've got
but it wasn't booked for that.
No, I know. I'm just saying
it's TNA. That's why the stipulation was what they're going to wear, what their holes are going to use, or what you got to win by submission or whatever. It was how you going to show your ass and not get us kicked off television. How much cleavage can you show that's getting kicked off television? That's where that was. That's all that was. TNA expose.
Let me ask you though, did you guys have that type of specific conversation? How much can you show without us getting in trouble?
They knew what they wanted to do. They knew what they needed to do. You didn't have to specifically say it. They're not children. They knew that their role, as a great one would say, know your role. And they knew their role and were happy, even though it was. You think Molly Holly, with her character and the way she approached life, was excited about being perceived as a sexy type competitor? No, it was uncomfortable for her. I get it, but she still went along with it as far as she would go in that presentation. So it was. They knew their role, man, and God bless them. We paid them as good as we could, and they all made some pretty good money during that era. But they were a pleasure to be around.
Next up, we've got an interview with La Resistance backstage, who say them not knowing their challengers was typical of the corrupt American voting system. And then JR would say he's not the biggest Kane fan, but he hopes he beats the living hell out of Gene Snitsky. And then we see the voting. What type of match were these guys going to have? Is it going to be a lead pipe? Is it going to be a steel chair? Or is it going to be a chain? Chain gets the win, 41%. Steel chair comes in at 30.
Weak. All week suggestions, all week candidates. It was a turd in a punch bowl. It wasn't going to work. There were bad stuff. Snitsky wasn't over. And I like Gene. I got Gene some great tickets the other day to go to see Toby Keith in concert there in Pennsylvania. So I still keep in touch with Gene. But he wasn't over. And Kane it was an awkward match. You got two super heavyweights. So the match is going to be somewhat plodding. And the fans, after a bikini or the women's foray, a plotting match was not what was called for. Bad positioning on the card.
Well, and the angle sucked. I mean, let's not forget that the situation here, and this is going to be a lot to keep up with. Kane has won the hand of Lita in a match with Matt Hardy. So now, he gets his way with her and he impregnates her with his demon seed. And, of course, eventually there is a bad situation where Lita, takes a tumble and Snitsky's involved here. And because of that, we learn that, Lita has suffered a miscarriage, yet another miscarriage angle for WWE. And of course, Snitsky is going to say, it's not my fault. That became his, catchphrase, and even punted a a baby doll into the crowd, but it's not my fault. How much were the writers having fun with this?
Apparently a lot. Is very, they wrote for Vince's enjoyment. How many times you heard that, Conrad, in these podcasts you do?
Yeah.
They wrote for Vince's enjoyment, and punting a baby into the crowd would make him laugh. Ha ha ha, pal. Ha ha. He laughed like Bruce laughed now. Ha ha. So that's kind of that. You know, it was a bad booking. In hindsight, it was bad booking. That's all. Can't justify, well, why'd you do that? Why'd you go over there? It's bad booking. It was, like you said, Conrad, nice idea on paper. In practical application, sucked.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's no way to say that other than that. Let's talk about the match. It too, not the best match. It gets 3/4 of a star. It would be written lots of semi-awkward lumbering around and hitting each other with the chain. 14 minutes and 18 seconds. Gene Snitsky gets the win, and he comes off the top rope with a big stomp onto Kane's head in the chair. Kane's gonna start coughing up blood. Kane gets taken out on a gurney. Snitsky attacks him again. So the match is over, but the angle is not. Next up, we've got an interview with Edge.
Let me say one thing right here, Conrad. This is a prime example of the fumbles. Snitsky gets a big win over Kane. Kane was very, very well taken care of. Kane was in a good spot. He was over. So Kane did the honors and did the right thing by trying to get Snitsky over to have another guy for the talent to work with, including Kane. But once they shot that angle, where did it go? Does anybody listening tonight or today remember what happened after that? I can tell you, nothing. Dropping the ball again. So instead of, well, we tried that, it didn't work. Well, why don't you play it on out and then have him put somebody over? Why don't you play it on out, have an angle, and get something out of it as far as just forgetting about it, letting it go. Then, and especially the fans today, don't forget nothing. I can promise you.
Next up, we've got Eric Bischoff taking on his nephew, Eugene. The steps were the loser has to be the creative figurehead for SmackDown. Never mind. The loser has to have their head shaved, and the loser has to wear a dress, and the loser has to be the winner's servant. So the stipulation is going to be getting your head shaved. And
of course.
Eugene is going to beat Eric Bischoff 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Bischoff tries to leave after Eugene gets a quick win, and Vince McMahon comes out, razzes him, orders him to sit and get shaved or be fired. And then they start making fun of his gray roots, and he's yelling,
"Brother, they were gray now. Let me tell you something." The old man had more fun exposing, or what he perceived to be exposing, Bischoff's gray roots than anybody should be allowed to have. Vince was almost giddy, because nobody really perceived that was going to be a development when they started shaving Eric's hair. Eric's got a very handsome head of hair now, but boy, it had turned gray on the son of a gun, and Vince had a field day with that.